It's time now for your weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news. This is the Southwest Outdoors Report.
Hi everybody, and welcome into this week's show. And I'd like to welcome you to Lake Elmer Thomas. Where the hell is Elmer Thomas? Elmer Thomas Lake is a little 350-acre lake situated right on the edge of the scenic Wichita Mountain Range, just north of Lawton, Oklahoma. The lake is very unique in that it's actually located on an active military base. Fort Sill is just north of Lawton, and it's home for the Lake Elmer Thomas Recreation Area. Now, who would ever know a place like this even exists in southwestern Oklahoma? But this place has got a little marina, it's got a mini golf course, it's got cabins to stay in, it's got picnic areas, all kinds of great facilities here in a very out-of-the-way place. And we're going to show you Lake Elmer Thomas today and some of the bass fishing, maybe some crappie, whatever else we can find today. So while we're doing that, we're going to be taking you around the region in the Southwest for your latest fishing reports from the rest of Oklahoma, here where we are, also in Louisiana with Cajun Phil and Kevin, and down in Texas with Brian Hughes in Freshwater and Bill Olson down on the coast. It's going to be an action-packed half hour, and right now I'm going to launch that Nitro Z8 boat down the boat ramp at Lake Elmer Thomas. And while I'm getting ready, we're taking you back to the FSN studios for your weekend planner.
Great news! This weekend looks like a fantastic opportunity to fish for those of you traveling to the lake. The Salooner tables are indicating excellent conditions for both days, with the best daylight hours around noon on Sunday. Expect sunrise to take place at 7:35, with sunset happening at 6:49. And Friday features a full moon, so evenings will be very well lit. We'll be right back with all of the current fishing reports from around the Southwest. And I'll return with Robin Singer on this week's Whataburger Ask the Pro with some information about outboard engines. Here's a look at some of our recent entries in the Costa Catch of the Week contest. These catches didn't win, but we definitely thought they were still worth sharing.
Southwest Outdoors Report is brought to you by Exide AGM Marine Batteries. Starts like new, stays like new longer. By Jean LaRue and Bobby Garland Lures. With our baits, a good day of fishing is in the bag. By MotorGuide Trolling Motors, engineered for anglers. And by Nitro Performance Bass Boats, pure performance.
Swimming under the boat with it. Watch this. Watch this. You still got it? He does. That feels like a decent fish. Oh yeah. Little 2.5, 3 pounder, something like that. Welcome back, everybody, to Elmer Thomas Lake, southwest Oklahoma, north of Lawton. And there's just a good chunky bass, a lot of those in this lake. As I mentioned, I got to come here and fiddle around for about 3 hours yesterday. And this lake, just to tell you what it's like, is a deep, fairly clear lake, got a lot of rocks around it. What it's also got that you cannot see with your naked eyes, it's got lots of grass beds, submerged hydrilla beds for the most part, a little bit of milfoil. But they're out here, they start at about 6 feet and they grow out to 17 feet. What you want to do a lot of times is pull back, and I'm drifting in on a point right here, but you want to pull back and fish the outside edges where that grass drops off from, say, 10 feet down to about 17. A lot of times those fish will cruise up and down that pathway, up and down that line, feeding, and you can catch them there. And that one hit not a biffle bug, a Who Daddy. That's a Gene LaRue Who Daddy, Texas rigged. I'll show it to you at the end of the show, but that's a perfect rig for fishing the outside edges of these grass beds. So a lot of times they'll move up on the grass and you can catch them on a Strike King red eye shad or even a topwater bait in the fall. But if you don't see any activity on top or don't get any bites shallow, move back, fish the outside edge of the grass. And that's where they'll be a lot of times. All right, let's move along and check on your fishing report from down in the state of Texas, beginning with Brian Hughes.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by GunSafesByKennedy'sCorner.com. Now over my shoulder is Lake Ray Hubbard. This will be the site of this year's Ladies Bass Anglers World Championship this week. The tournament starts on Thursday and runs through Saturday with weigh-ins right here at Bass Pro Shops. They'll check in first at the courtesy dock at 3 p.m., then trailer up and come around for the weigh-in around 3:30. Now the ladies are going to find an angry rising lake behind me. With the rain that we have and the cooler weather coming through, it's going to be tough fishing. They may have a topwater bite, which is going on right now. Of course, conditions could change and quash that completely. So I'd bring some topwaters, some spinner baits, and some deep diving crankbaits for fishing around the I-30 rocks and other shallow cover. But I'd also have a jig, a Carolina rig, and a drop shot rig ready to go to fish those offshore structures like the jetties and main lake points as they fall off into that deeper water, which may be your secondary and winning pattern for the Ladies World Championship this week on Lake Ray Hubbard. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by GunSafesByKennedy'sCorner.com. Now let's check in with Mr. Bill Olson. He's on the coast.
Hi folks, this week's report is brought to you by Port Aransas on Mustang Island, the fishing capital of Texas, where anglers enjoy pristine bays, estuaries, 18 miles of surf, and the deep blue waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Plus the local restaurants will even cook your catch come sundown. Come fish and play Texas Island style. For more information, visit portaransas.org. Well, anglers all along the Texas coast will deal with the effects of the most recent cold front this weekend. North winds will blow water from the back lakes and marshes along the upper coast, and water temperatures will continue to slip. This weekend from Sabine to West Matagorda Bay, the best option may be to set up around the mouths of back lakes or areas that drain marshes. Depending upon how strong the winds are, there may be some bird activity. Live shrimp or soft plastics will be best. Now, from Port O'Connor southward to the Corpus Christi Ship Channel, anglers will look for protected grassy shorelines. If the winds are not too strong, fish tight to the shorelines for redfish. Trout may drop off into slightly deeper guts and channels. Areas in behind St. Joe and Mustang Island have been good for trout. Redfish continue to be on the move all along the coastal bend. Along the King Ranch shoreline and around Emmer's Hole, some solid trout have been caught on live bait and water 4 feet deep. Once conditions settle, look for the topwater bite to resume. On the lower coast, redfish have been scattered behind 3 islands as well as the spoils southeast of Cullens. Mexiquita Flats has given up trout and reds on bait. South Bay continues to have scattered trout, drum, and mangrove snapper being caught on most baits. Offshore, well, it looks like the best option will emerge next week. This weekend, Saturday has a double tide schedule of 2 high and 2 low tides. This Sunday is a 3 tide day with 2 highs and just 1 low. I'm Bill Olson, and I'll see you on the coast.
There he is. Drop shot fish. Way down there in 30 feet of water. Calm down. There we go. All right. There's a little fat football fish right there for you. Welcome back to Elmer Thomas Lake in southwestern Oklahoma on a very windy day. The wind's coming up to about 25 to 30 miles an hour. And so we're having to fish only where we can. Let's let that fish go back. I've got my spinning rig out. This is that Lew's Laser SL rod that I've become such a fan of. Haven't been fishing that rod very long. Show it to you at the end of the show, but got the spinning rod out. Got some braided line. I always like to use braided line on my spinning rig. That's a Stren Sonic braid. and I'll show you the drop shot rig, and he actually slung my worm off there. But fishing vertically, straight up and down off of these rock bluff walls, and I can actually see a few of these little pods of bass swimming around underneath there. So we've identified two different kinds of structure that you can catch bass off of: grass beds and rock. And one other thing I want to mention, just over that little mountain bluff right there is another really good fishing lake, Lake Latonka. And as we head to the next little fishing report here, I want to roll in some quick video of a big saugeye that I caught right next door at Lake Latonka last year. This thing was huge. I had never actually caught a saugeye before, but it's a cross between a sauger and a walleye. And so that's a great fishing lake there. I also caught a smallmouth bass there and some largemouth bass, and it's loaded with white bass as well. So really a lot of fishing right here within just a short drive of this one little area where we are at Elmer Thomas. Let's check in now with more of your fishing reports from Louisiana with Cajun Phil and Kevin.
Hi friends, Cajun Phil here with your Fox Sports Southwest Louisiana fishing report. I tell you what, we've been having some good fishing reports from just about everywhere. Let's start off with the bass fishing. We talked to several of our real good friends. They were down on the Atchafalaya Basin. They were catching lots of bass. They said they throw in a Strike Pro Hunchback. It's a little wake bait. They said they're going down the bank, just throwing it Hunchback, just working right along the bank. Said the big old bass are blowing it up. They catch it 15, 20 a day. That's not a whole lot, but it's a pretty good little catch from the Atchafalaya Basin. Said the water's pretty, water level's good, clarity's good, and they catch lots of fish. Redfish, speckled trout go. Well, Kevin's down in Delacroix, Louisiana, and he said, I'm catching 20, 25 a day if I want to. He said from 4 to 7 pounds, all the reds you want to catch. He's throwing a Johnson spoon and the Bass Assassin, catching most of his. He said lots of grass right now. I said all that region grass. He said, ooh, there's going to be some ducks down here this year. We also talked to Captain Chris Pike and Captain Brett Ardees. They're down around the Shell Beach area. They're catching limits of speckled trout every day. They're catching most of theirs on plastics and on live bait. No matter where you want to go across the state, contact Cajun Phil. My number is 337-540-5530. Or simply send me an email at CajunPhil@hotmail.com. Remember, keep my wife in your prayers. She's real sick right now. Till next time, this is Cajun Phil for Captain Kevin. Been happy fishing, and may God bless. We're going to see you folks next week.
There's one. Look at this. That's a huge brim bluegill. Holy mackerel, look at the size of that. On a drop shot rig, look at this big worm hanging out his mouth. Well, there's a lot of different species. I caught a big crappie yesterday when I was just piddling around here, and largemouth bass. I haven't seen any white bass. I know there are channel catfish in here, and tell you what, you know that's a big brim when you can lip it like that. All right. Well, we're checking out Elmer Thomas today, catching everything that swims in the lake, including brim on a drop shot rig. Stay with us, coming back to the beautiful Wichita Mountains of southwest Oklahoma in just a second.
The Southwest Outdoors Report is brought to you by Mercury, the official outboard of the Southwest Outdoors Report for 11 years running. By Academy, right stuff, low price, every day. By Tracker Boats, fish the finest. And by Whataburger, just like you like it.
Hey, welcome back everybody. We're still here at Elmer Thomas Lake, and I made a big long cast out over 60 feet of water out off this red rock cliff with a Strike King red eye shad, and something nailed it. Decent fish. I thought it was bigger than that the way it jumped. See if I can haul it up here. Look at how fat the belly is on that fish. All right, well, southwestern Oklahoma is a good place to come fishing. Let me tell you something. You might see these fish that we're showing, and everybody want to run here and get some of this, but let me warn you that this is only a 350-acre lake. And if everybody runs here next weekend, nobody's going to catch any fish, because this lake can only handle about 10 to 12 boats is about all it can handle and still actually keep the pressure off the fish. So that fish is going back right there. Show you that red eye shad at the end. And as we head to our next fishing report, I want to show you one other thing. As I mentioned earlier, I did get to come and spend 3 hours yesterday, and on a big spinner bait, again, out over deep water, I did catch a really good fish. This fish would go somewhere between 6 and 7 pounds. Through that spinner bait, out over some open water, I saw some big balls of shad that were suspended just under the surface. Roll that spinner bait across the top of them, and this big old boy right here ran up there and grabbed it. So there are some good quality fish in Elmer Thomas as well. Let's get you to some more fishing reports. Let's go to the rest of Oklahoma with Gary Dollahoff.
Hey, the number of daylight hours are getting shorter. We've had more good rain, especially across the eastern side of the state, and most of our lake levels, with the exception of the areas that have been hit hardest by the drought, are right at or around normal lake levels. And for the first time, we're finally getting those water temperatures to get down and stay in the lower 70-degree range. So lots of transitions taking place across the state right now at this time, which does have an impact on our fishing. Still getting lots of good fishing reports in on largemouth bass, though at many places across the state. Lots of reports on shaky head worms in and around isolated pieces of cover on top of the flats. Also, good reports of bass fishing in the very backs of the creeks on the shallowest docks back in there. Also a great time of year to start catching those largemouth bass on a Zara spook. You can really pull those fish up from the depth in front of some of those bluffs and off those points on that Zara spook. Also burning a spinnerbait. That's a fun way to fish this time of year as well. Make a really long cast with that spinnerbait. Rod tip held high, reel it really fast. Those bass will come up and crush that spinnerbait. Crappie fishing the last 10 days or so have really started to come in from many places across the state. Most of those reports are indicating the crappie fishing is good around the docks. We knew that happens because that always happens this time of year. Sounds like most of those fish are suspended about 10 to 12 feet deep on those docks regardless of water depth. And also in the brush piles, getting reports coming in of fish in that 10 to 12 to 15 foot range there. Crappie are very depth sensitive this time of year, but one thing about it, you can't catch them if you don't go.
The Southwest Outdoors Report is brought to you by Costa Sunglasses. See what's out there. By Lubes, setting a new standard in fishing performance. Feel the difference. By Strand Fishing Lines, the standard of dependability. And by Strike King Lures, #1 in fishing.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Whataburger Ask the Pro. This week's question is from Jason, who asks, what is the basic difference between 2-stroke and 4-stroke engines? For the answer, let's ask Robin Singer of Mercury Marine.
Well, you know, you think about the 2-stroke and the main benefit there. It's the power to weight ratio. Normally they're a little bit lighter, a little bit quicker acceleration. They do require the mixing of the gas and oil to help lubricate and clean the engine. And they require a little bit more annual maintenance. When you think about the 4-stroke, it's almost like your car, your automobile engine. It's got its own sump, it's got an intake valve and exhaust valve that brings a fresh charge of fuel air in, the exhaust out. It's quieter, but the big thing is it doesn't require any maintenance like the 2-stroke. But they both can do the job. The 4-stroke with its lower gear ratio, it's a little bit larger displacement, can match the performance. So today's technology engines, again, can do whatever you want on the back of your boat.
Thank you, Robin. If you have a question for one of our professionals, visit the website at southwestoutdoorsreport.com, follow the Ask the Pro link, and let us know. Now here's Barry with our winner of the Costa Catch of the Week.
Hey, thanks very much. We're back on the trailer after a great day's fishing in southwestern Oklahoma. And how about a big catfish for this week's Costa Catch of the Week winner? He is Trent Miller of Tulsa, Oklahoma, showing off a 46-pound flathead catfish he caught out of the Arkansas River near Tulsa. He wins his choice of any pair of Costa sunglasses, and if you would like a chance to send in your photo and win a pair of your own, go to our website at southwestoutdoorsreport.com, click on the Costa Catch of the Week box on the right-hand side of the front page and follow the instructions. And you can also click on the Costa logo on that same front page and see all of the Costa frame and lens styles. And you can especially see the frame style of the month, the great pair of Costas I've been wearing on this week's episode called Switchfoot. Next up on the Academy Sports and Outdoors Right Stuff feature, it's the right gear to catch bass. here at Elmer Thomas near Lawton, Oklahoma. And it begins with a spinning rig for some of those deeper fish using a drop shot like I caught on this week's show. Now the rig begins with an awesome spinning rod. That's the Lew's Speed Stick Laser SL spinning rod. I mentioned it earlier in the show. It's easily identifiable by the bright red color, and it's readily available all across our Southwest region. Now, here's the drop shot rig, and it begins at the bottom with a little Strike King tungsten weight. That's about a 3/8 ounce size, and about a foot to 18 inches above it is a little drop shot hook. And the principle of the drop shot is that when you put tension on it, when you pull straight up and shake that rod tip, the hook goes out horizontally. That's a little Gene LaRue salthead shaky worm, little finesse worm, and it's perfect and caught all the fish you saw us catch on the drop shot on this show. Also, we caught some fish on two other baits. You saw that big 7-pounder I caught. That was on the Strike King Tour Grade spinnerbait with the painted willow leaf blade, as you see there. And we also caught some on the Strike King Red Eye Shad lipless rattling crankbait for some of the fish that were busting shad on top of the water. As I'm sure you'll readily recall, we are not that far removed from some very devastating tornadoes that happened across our Southwest region back in the spring in Oklahoma, and in particular in the town where I live in Granbury, Texas. In fact, that tornado did some real tragedy because it destroyed a brand new Habitat for Humanity home that was only a couple of days from being moved into by its new occupants. Well, the great news is less than 4 months later, hundreds of volunteers have joined together, rebuilt that home from the ground up, and in September, that same family was able to move into their brand new Habitat for Humanity home. I've been a big fan of Habitat for many years. In fact, my wife and I have volunteered on several Habitat for Humanity projects, and a quick look at their website at www.habitat.org shows that they have communities and projects in hundreds of cities right here in our Southwest region. There is one near you. Would you consider doing what I did and volunteering for a Habitat project near you? I think you and your entire community would be much better off for it, and you'll become a big fan of Habitat just like I am. Hey, don't forget to join us for next week's show, Thursday night, 10:30. If that time ever changes, you'll see the change first on the front page of our website at southwestoutdoorsreport.com. The show re-airs Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and we're also, of course, on Fox Sports South on Wednesday mornings as well. Now, right there on the front page of our website, you can also see the latest episode of our show 24/7 in full HD. You can also click on the YouTube logo and get all the past episodes of our show. You can always catch up if you're out of town. And you can click on the Facebook logo and get lots of fishing news, photos, and video that you'll never see because we don't have time for those here on the television show. From beautiful Elmer Thomas Lake and the Fort Sill Army Base near Lawton, Oklahoma, we'll see you next week. Till then, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.